Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of The Wise Build Bridges. The Wise Build Bridges is a podcast brought to you by Viaduct Generation, the growth partner for purpose-driven e-commerce brands. And today I am joined by Ceillier. Raphael, Ceillier, how are you, my good friend? You okay?
Hi, Jerry. I'm all good. Thanks for asking. And yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I've actually just come off the back of a podcast. It seems to be podcast exception here today. So no, I'm having a really nice day. I've had my cup of coffee. I've been to yoga this morning. Me and you had a lovely dinner last night. For those that aren't privy to the ins and outs of my diary, I was joined by Raf at Nando's last night. We thought we'd give back to the South African community. You know, they've given us so much. It's only fair that we give some of our pounds back to them. And I don't know if it's true to say, Raf, there are rumors that your life was changed by a chocolate cake.
Mate, one chocolate cake at a time. To be fair, you've had two good suggestions last night and it's blown me away. You might see me at the same Nando's tonight.
See you there, man. See you there. Back to back Nando's. Yeah, for those that aren't conscious, that chocolate cake at Nando's is absolutely amazing. I would highly encourage anyone who thinks that chicken is the thing that Nando's sell, you'd be very incorrect. It's actually chocolate cake, but the chicken is just like a aperitif, a mise en bouche, some would say. A amuse-bouche. But yeah. Listen, Raf, this podcast is all about sharing your secrets so that all your competitors can get a bit of an upper hand. No, I'm joking. It is about being a practical and insightful podcast so that others can learn from you, others can see what you're doing and can kind of take some advice and some guidance. Like SEO, in my case, sometimes we are marketing not the most sexy thing in the world. And because I know about Grosvenor contracts, I know that you aren't marketing the most sexy thing in the world. But that's why we're here today, is to learn from one another, to share our practical insights and tips. And I'd love to understand a little bit more about Grosvenor contracts and what it is that you're doing for them on a day-to-day basis.
Thanks. So basically the company I work for, Grosvenor Contracts, focuses on window shading and soft furnishing, but for commercial and especially healthcare sectors. A quick rundown of products and services that we do: anything from blinds and curtains that are bespoke and manufactured in-house and obviously installed, to cubicle curtains and tracks that go around hospital beds. We are in most of the NHS trusts around London. London is where we are based. So on top of those services to the healthcare sector, we also run a private healthcare laundry service, completely localized for most private clinics, I would say, in London, such as HCA, London Bridge Clinic, things like that. So it's very, as you say, not the prettiest as you can see. Yeah, so it's things that you've got to market to some extent to niche crowds and find new business.
Absolutely. That new business part is a big part about why people listen to this podcast. As you know, Viaduct Generation, we're focusing on all things acquisition, retention, and conversion for our e-commerce clients. But we also, our roots are in SEO. Acquisition is our bread and butter. What would you, in your experience working at Grosvenor, what have you found to be some of the more kind of surprising tactics from an acquisition perspective?
So with Grosvenor, when I came in from a perspective that, throwing some money in an ad, maybe Facebook, maybe Google will work. But then again, I very quickly learned that what we do and what we sell is very different to anything I've sold before. And I kind of quickly realized that was not going to be the way forward. So my approach, keeping in mind Grosvenor has been around for over 30 years, there's a big database of clients that we have worked in the past and just contacts in general. So my immediate kind of tactic that I kind of went to was re-engaging all of those contacts. And on top of that, potentially getting more niche data via different platforms, whether it be buying actual data or directories, anything to actually get a good amount of data. And then from there, really targeting focused emails and re-engaging past clients worked really, really well. When I picked up Grosvenor, it really had a struggle of getting actual new business. And the first thing that I kind of did was getting that from existing clients that had a relationship with Grosvenor, and a lot of Grosvenor is built on trust, and you can see that they have these long-standing relationships because it's something that people can see and feel from our service and team and all of that. So I kind of nurtured that through lead score, through automated journeys, through outbound emails, and yeah. So re-engaging, cross-selling with current accounts was the main.
You mentioned there that kind of nurturing of trust as a key element behind it. I imagine a lot of that's because people need really trustworthy suppliers, really credible suppliers that aren't going to let them down. What are you doing as a business to try and portray and to demonstrate more of that trust than maybe your competitors are?
So I think trust is nowadays quite difficult to come by because it's, first of all, so many competitors. It's a very tough market because people, want to take you out in certain ways. I think what's worked for us is really being in those places that you need to be, specifically associations, summer ball dinners, all of those little events that the decision makers and your audience are at, but in a more informal way. That kind of breaks down that barrier, I think, where, you would maybe get someone coming by at an exhibition stand and it's very formal. It's like, okay, like we could use your product, but it's still very impersonal in a way. So breaking that down and being in places, inviting people for coffees or inviting them over. And one thing that we created a showroom within our new office. And we tend to invite a lot of our clients over to, just show them kind of where we were building that trust. And also we have one of the last workrooms within London. So we actually manufacture a lot of things in-house. We've got seamstresses that work there. So it's something that we can kind of show. And obviously that builds a lot of trust. That builds a relationship where they actually know more than just what we sell.
Yeah, nice. And are you engaging some of the other team members in kind of content creation for you? Or are they like, Raph, you got to come onto site. I can't take good pictures. Or are you sending them, no guys, we need it in horizontal and landscape? How does it work there?
So I mean, it's a bit of both. So we have teams of installers that are obviously out and about and reps and all that. And to some extent, they'll take maybe 1 in 10 pictures is usable. Some of them are very skew, or they'll leave their bags and their tools in there. Like AI can only do so much. So most of the time, if a site is like close by in a local proximity and nice enough, because obviously we do a lot of responsive work. Sometimes it's just 1 blind or 2 blinds, like that doesn't, kind of certify me going out there. But I've got a little bit of background in professional photography, and I have a camera and all of that. So I tend to go on site every month or so. I put myself a target to go at least on a site or 2 to take proper nice pictures that will go, and then it feeds itself, it's portfolio. I use it in flyers, future brochures, whatever it may be. And on top of that, studies, blog content, posts, they all kind of feed each other. And the plan, well, for me, it's always the same. It's like when you create a piece of content, you want it to be used in as many ways as possible. If it's a case study, then that becomes a post, that becomes a Facebook ad, that becomes a Google update, whatever it may be. You just use it as much as you can, because if you just post a blog, like 5 people will see it, and then you're kind of wasting your time, right? Apart from the SEO aspect of feeding the monster that is the Google analytics and algorithms.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? Like even this podcast, I think that the reutilization of content, we put a lot of time and effort into creating content that's super valuable. So when we are recording this podcast, not only are we sending snippets out, YouTube shorts will be going out, the actual podcast, both on YouTube as well as Spotify. But then we're going to also be transcribing this podcast. It goes on our blog. We're going to create an article about it. I'll probably post it on LinkedIn. And it just means that this maybe 35-minute, 40-minute podcast episode is maybe reutilized over a number of formats 5 or 6 times. Because there's so much value in the way that people consume different content. I like a certain type of content. My partner can't stop looking at TikTok. While you might prefer valuable emails, someone else can't get off LinkedIn. So making sure that you're reaching your audience wherever they may be and wherever they may be on their buying journey. I think sometimes a lot of marketeers are stuck with trying to create bottom of funnel. They're so focused on how can I optimize and increase the conversion rate from maybe to, yes, here's my credit card details, as opposed to going, you know what, actually, let's meet some more people. Let's spend a bit of time getting to know who my ICP is, and not only be interested in just who they are now, but actually be genuinely willing to commit to building a relationship and seeing how things get from there. So I think that's a really interesting point, but I think those savvy listeners amongst us will have noticed that there's 2 South African accents on the pod. And now this isn't a rarity. The Wise Bill Bridges does not discriminate. We do not exclusively bring on South Africans. However, South African listeners, you are more than welcome to join. Raf, tell us a little bit more about how you got here, man. How you've arrived from, Knysna is where you're from in South Africa. But tell us a little bit about the journey and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, mate, it's a bit of a story. Originally from France, but I moved to South Africa when I was 8, to Knysna, as you mentioned. This beautiful little piece of paradise. You always find it difficult to leave, but then again, there's a big broad world out there. So that was kind of my move. After I finished school there, I went to go study in Cape Town, which opened my eyes to kind of the big city living, if you can call Cape Town a big city. The inside of Cape Town is nothing compared to London. And then from there, with my current fiance, moved overseas. We had a plan to live somewhere else. London was an option. She didn't want to speak French or go to a French-speaking country. I could speak English and I wanted to work in English. London seemed like a perfect option, and I've got a bit of family around. Yeah, I made the move 3 years ago now. Lucky to be sponsored to come here for work for Grosvenor, and I've been in the marketing position ever since. Obviously, slowly building my way up and studying along the way, just trying to get that career that I came here for kick-started in a way.
Yeah, nice. And if you were to rewind back, let's rewind back 8 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, what advice would you whisper in the ear of young, inexperienced, super energetic Raf? What is he, 18 at this time now?
Yeah.
Probably just finishing matric. What advice would you whisper in his ear to keep him steadfast on his journey?
Yeah, man, I think journeys in general are meant to be lived in a way, knowing that ups and downs are just part of it. And I think believing in yourself is a huge part. I think the first job interview that I ever had, the CEO basically told me, my 16-year-old can do what you're doing. Why should I hire you? And that kind of, threw me back. And that's when I had to dig deep and be like, you know what, why should he actually hire me? What are my other assets than what I've learned, what, I studied, and what everything you can do with internet nowadays. So I think valuing yourself, valuing more than what you are, capable of in terms of work, but more what you bring to a team aspect. And I think just knowing that you don't have to settle for a certain thing. If a company puts you in a position that you don't really need to be, I think that's also something that I had to learn the hard way, where I was in positions where maybe it wasn't the best, or getting to some extent kind of used. I think it's important to see the light at the end of the tunnel and get yourself out of positions like that. And travel. And, I took a leap of faith. I sold everything within 2 months and moved overseas. And that was one of the best decisions and experiences that I've ever had in my 28 years on the planet. So, yeah, man, sometimes you're going to take the leap of faith and just trust yourself, trust that everything kind of works out, and to be happy with where you are.
The word that comes to mind is fortune favors the brave. And it sounds to me like you've had options in your life where you could have taken the safe route, and quite often you've gone against that and gone against maybe what the more conventional approach. Is that something that you're conscious of, or is that something that's just ticking away in the background?
I think it's a bit of both. I think to some extent it's something that is built into me. I don't like to settle for less than what I think I kind of deserve in a way, and I'll work for that. I'll often have like a goal in mind. When I came here, I could have very well settled in my role, but instead, I've been studying for the past 2 years. I've been trying to find, network and kind of be here for the career that I'm trying to build, and I've put in that work for it. But at the same time, I think subconsciously I try to always take whatever comes my way with, to some extent, a pinch of salt. Not everything is obviously that easy to deal with, but most of the time, life will throw curveballs your way. I mean, inevitably, you're going to have something tough to deal with. And I think how you deal with those challenges is a lot about your character and how you grew up. And I guess to some extent, you can also change that along the way. And obviously, your past doesn't determine your future. But yeah, overcoming those challenges and being brave will obviously get you to where you want to be ultimately.
Nice, man. You mentioned studying there. Can you tell us a little bit about what you are studying?
Yeah. So I've 9 months ago now embarked with an association called SIM, which is the Chartered Institute of Marketing. And my plan in my head was to kind of move away from the full stack marketing, content creator, Canva abusing, post making, all of that, to a more directorship, decision making, strategizing, marketing focus in my career. So I decided to do a level 6 diploma in professional marketing. Ultimately, within 2 years, I want to be able to do my level 7, which is equivalent to a master's, just to get myself in the right direction to be, a high level senior marketing director, whatever it may be, but to be able to make decisions and really strategize about, making a certain brand or certain product and really knowing how to implement certain things and roll them out.
Let me ask you a question, and I'm going to ask that you answer it in full sentences, but answer it in a way that gives me a pretty definitive yes or no. If you were 18 now, would you go to university and study marketing, knowing the career that you want to do?
Maybe, potentially. To be honest with you, I did a BCom with a focus in digital marketing. So my degree was broad enough to be able to kind of implement myself in any kind of business. And that was my dream, was always to be at the head of a business or within that sort of corporate structure. It's something that I looked up to. My dad was in it for a long time, and it's something that I really wanted to be in. Marketing just kind of came with it, and I've kind of gravitated to that side of my degree more than any other. So I'm quite happy with the studying of marketing that I've done. And to be honest with you, I actually think it's a sector that's really, really fun. First of all, it's super creative to some extent, even though I'm not a creative by all means. I get along, but I'm not a creative. I think it's really fun. You can interact with people in ways that, no other kind of position allows you to be as free in a way. And I've had responsibilities that, have really opened massive doors for me and haven't just been pigeonholed within social media management or things like that. It's always been quite broad. And maybe that's just a way of gravitating to certain businesses and how they run and how they allow me to grow within it. But I've always had, jobs that entail project management, jobs that entail commercial kind of broad thinking about strategies and marketing plans. It's bigger than just marketing in a way. So it's really been fun, and I would probably do the same.
Nice, man. I like that. I like we only know what we've gone through, right? We only know what we're able to reflect back on, and it's great to see that your experience coupled with your actual education has made such a well-rounded marketeer and someone who can lean on both experience and actually I did this in my previous job, but also back on the education and leaning on some of those principles that are kind of consistent within marketing. I think that's really interesting. So Raf, tell me a little bit more about some advice that you would give to people new to London. You've come here not so long ago, you've settled in well, you're playing paddle left, right and center, braaiing all over Twickenham. Tell me a little bit about some advice and some of the kind of more challenging things that you had to get through upon kind of acclimatizing to London.
First of all, I think everyone's playing paddle. Go to a paddle court and just meet people. No, but London is it's a tough city at first. I think it's difficult to meet people and kind of break that first barrier, and also making it work with whatever salary you get at the start. I think it's a very expensive city. So the first few months were obviously very challenging. We were fortunate enough to, both my fiance and myself, find jobs that allowed us to grow and expand from there and meet people. Yeah, I think another thing that's really helped me is I'm quite into my sports, and that's one way that I connect with people. And I've had to kind of put myself out there, which I've never done before. In South Africa, I haven't joined a league or a group of people or a tournament, and these are things that I do now, which allowed me to meet people, allowed me to make friends, to meet new people. And I think that's a key thing, because it's such a big city and there's people everywhere, but people in London are very absorbed within the life that you have to live here, which is very work and private focused in a way. Like, people have their lives, they go to work and they make their money and then they go back. And to find that balance, I think the key thing is to put yourself out there and try to find people that you have shared interests with, and nurture those, even if it's a few. I'm not saying you're going to have, 30 mates within the next couple of months, but, those few interactions that you have, those few relationships that you have, nurture them. And then the rest, just make the most of London, because, yeah, to some extent, you never know how long you'll be here, and it's quite expensive, but there's so much to see, so many different places, so many different cultures, so many different restaurants, so many, different things. One thing that I like to do whenever I join a tennis league or something, I always go play at someone else's tennis court, because it allows me to experience London through tennis courts. So I've played on synthetic grass, I've played on normal grass, I've played on different clay courts. That's what I like to do, especially in the summer when we get our 30 days of sunshine.
Hey, it's been pretty good. I think both of us are sitting here with a little bit of sun-kissed. My nose is a little bit more than sun-kissed.
Yeah, that's a 17 Ks.
Yeah, no, listen, that marathon training is still going very slow and steady, but my ankles are feeling it this morning, that's for sure. Listen, let me ask you a question in regards to marketing. Like, there's a lot of trends that are always going up and down within the marketing space, right? The ones that just blow my mind were those comical, like, marketeer in a box. I don't know if you remember those. They were all over LinkedIn. At one stage, I couldn't scroll down without seeing someone's toy version of themselves. And funny enough, they were holding a MacBook and a Starbucks. Like,
I did see that, quite a few.
But tell me a little bit of a marketing trend that you think is massively overrated at the moment. Maybe something that you see people are putting time and attention into that you're like, I'm not too sure why. And maybe tell me a little bit about something that deserves the hype, something that you've been maybe blown away or surprised at the impact of it having.
So I think, let me start with the one that I've seen an impact on. Think personally, I took a bit of time to get my head around AI and how it can really help me within my marketing functions, apart from, using ChatGPT to get some content and stuff like that. I think something that's really been quite helpful is implementing lead scoring and nurture journeys. So that's automated nurture journeys with the help of lead scoring. So you basically have your database of people. I normally email them, so they'll have interactions with my emails and ultimately go on the site. And from there, I can see automatically who interacts with my content and who interacts with my website, and obviously that builds a lead score, and then from there put them in a different journey, and the ability to have that running in the background while you're doing 10 million other things, because obviously you're not spending your life looking at who clicked and who hasn't clicked and all of that. So having that really has helped me a lot in nurturing those few interactions of people that, might have opened the email and clicked on the link and didn't really go anywhere from there. I still can, revisit them over the period of a month or 3 months or whatever it may be. But setting up those automated journeys has been really, really helpful. So that's kind of like AI, and at the same time, personalization, lead scoring, all of those things all blended into one. And especially from Grosvenor's perspective, I think having so many return clients and being able to keep them on a leash to some extent, where you can give them the freedom, because, for example, product that we sell, which is cubicle curtains, last about 3 to 6 months, depending on the area of the hospital that they're at. Those clients might just need a little reminder 3 months from now, or they might just need a little heads up that their curtains might be. So having the ability to just throw them all in there, all our clients into a pool, and they know that 3 months from the date of purchase, they'll get a reminder. Having that done for you is a huge help, because you don't have to really think about it too much after that, and it brings that flow of re-engagement by itself. So I would say those 2 implementations have been really, really good. A trend that I think is overdone, to be honest with you, the position that I find myself in, even though I'm in a B2B context and I don't work B2C too much, trends only work for specific type of people and audiences. And I've found that it's important to analyze trends that will work for you, because I think sometimes there's no point in putting effort in something that's not going to work for you. For example, on my side of things, Instagram, obviously not my platform. Facebook, not my platform. Previous job, I was turning crazy amounts of sales on Facebook, right? I've had to kind of switch my whole strategy, and what I've implemented here is something that's more basic, more toned back, focusing on awareness, brand awareness, service awareness, and really building that trust. And that's kind of peeled back from all the trends. To some extent, I think video is really, really strong, even for us. We tend to do, install video shots and things like that, and that always responds really well. And I think any sort of personalization has a good and a bad aspect. I think getting that mix right is super, super important.
Nice. Back over to tennis, Raphael. Who's going to win the Wimbledon men's singles?
That's a tough question, man.
Go on, tell me. I need a name. I need a name. Who's winning it? Who's winning the men's and who's winning the women's?
Okay. Dude, women's, I'm going to go back-to-back Coco for fun, because I think she's playing really, really well. Okay. And the men's, so as a diehard Djokovic fan, I would say Djokovic, but I think he's past his prime in terms of beating Sinner or Alcaraz. So I'm going to have to give it to Sinner, because he's my favorite player at the moment. But yeah, Alcaraz obviously has a very, very good shot.
So tell me about this, man, because that's crazy to me, right? You said that I am a diehard Djokovic fan, but actually Sinner's your favorite now because he keeps winning. Are you like the supporter who jumps from Manchester United to Arsenal to Liverpool to City, just depending on who's on top here? Or is tennis just like that? There's a life cycle and you move on.
I think tennis is different because, I play a lot as well, so I appreciate, say, the top 100, for example. So I have a lot of favorites, right? I think in general, Sinner's attitude and game is just like mind-blowing, right? It's so clinical, clean strikes, incredible defense, winners, whatever you want. But Alcaraz has like that feeling, that emotion. So I literally have a soft spot for every single player. I can go through the top 20 with you and know every single one and their little quirks and everything. But right now, that's my dilemma. I love Djokovic, mate. I'll give it to him any day, but I just don't think he'll make it past the semis if he gets there. But yeah, Musetti also killer backhand. I've got a one-handed backhand, so I've got obviously a soft spot for that. So yeah, Musetti, and I'm not even Italian, mate, but they're looking good.
Listen, that certainly sounds like me and you should be playing on the same team when we play paddle. And yeah, looking forward to doing that with you in the future. For all those that have, you've said something today that made them more curious, for those that want to reach out to you, how can they get in touch?
LinkedIn, I'm quite active on that. It's obviously the easiest way to connect. And check out Grosvenor Contracts. I'm obviously behind that as well. So yeah, that's probably the 2 easiest ways.
Amazing. Listen, guys, thanks so much for tuning into the Wise Bull Bridges. Remember, real wisdom isn't about kind of putting up walls and protecting your secrets, but it is about sharing it. It's about creating friendships and connections and driving forward with purpose in the right direction. They often say that it isn't what you know, it's who you know. And I believe it's who knows what you know. So go out there and share your wisdom with others. Until next time, keep connecting. And that's all from me. Cheers.